Hey everyone, how you doing? Welcome back. I'm Fuzz, and today I've got what I think is probably going to be a little bit shorter video because I've only got a couple titles to talk about today, but they are new 4K releases. So I wanted to make sure that I was able to offer my take for you guys who are interested in these titles. So the first one I'm going to be talking about is the new 4K release of Timecop. From Scream Factory, a little Jean-Claude Van Damme 90s sci-fi action here. So I'll give you my thoughts on the transfer on this one. And then after that, I'll be talking about the new Arrow Video limited edition release of Jason X on 4K. So I'll be giving you my thoughts on this release as well, and also showing you what's included in this package. So without any further ado, we're just going to get right into it here and rock this. All right, so starting off here with Timecop, 1994 film here with Jean-Claude Van Damme and Ron Silver. Ron Silver actually does a really good job as the bad guy in this film, and I'm not really even the biggest Ron Silver fan, but I thought he did a good job with this role. But this is one that I had been anticipating for quite some time and was very anxious to upgrade to 4K from my previous Blu-ray. Up until now, all I had for Timecop was this crappy budget double feature Blu-ray that had both Bloodsport and Timecop on it, and they didn't even include them in separate discs. It's like one of those deals where both the movies are on a single disc, which is never ideal. You know, it's hard to feel like you're getting a very good quality encode when you're sticking two movies on a disc like that. But I bought this a few years ago as just to kind of serve as a placeholder in my collection until these titles were released on 4K. And now they've both been released on 4K. I'll take a little side detour here and show you that about a year and a half ago, I upgraded my Bloodsport to 4K. This is a Capelight UK release, I believe, and this is a 4K media book. And I know I'm not reviewing this, but I just kind of wanted to give you the context of how I got here. Now, admittedly, Bloodsport has still not received a 4K release here in the US. We've only gotten the 4K releases in Europe. I think there's both a German media book and a UK media book, and I'm pretty sure this is the UK media book. It actually has English text, which a lot of these German media books have German text in the media books. No, this one actually has English, so I very much appreciated that. And this is just a 4K disc and a Blu-ray, right? And even the Blu-ray is going to be an upgrade over something like this, right? And this is an awesome 4K release too. I mean, Bloodsport looks fantastic in 4K. I mean, again, I know I'm not reviewing this, but just a little side detour. So when I got this on 4K, I was pretty happy about the fact that I was to the halfway point of finally being able to replace this old budget Blu-ray. Anyway, back to Timecop. When I heard this was getting a 4K release, I was pretty damn excited about it because I had been anxiously awaiting this release, and I knew that I would finally be able to get rid of this lame Blu-ray. So that was a big win for me. So first off, the packaging's pretty basic. You just got your basic Scream Factory slipcover. I'm not even sure why this is a Scream Factory release, to be honest. Because it doesn't strike me as a horror movie in any way, shape, or form. You know, I thought this would be like a Shout Studios, Shout Select release or something like that, but for some reason, it's under the Scream Factory label. I mean, it doesn't matter to me. I don't really care that much about that, but it was kind of an interesting little oddity there that Scream Factory is releasing this rather than, Shout Studios. But pretty basic slipcover. I like the original art, and I actually think it looks pretty nice here. And then the back. And you may be noticing something about the back here. Right off the bat, it's worth noting that there are no special features of any kind on this release. You don't even get a commentary track. And I was doing some research on it, and apparently there were never any special features on any previous release, aside from maybe a trailer on like the old DVD, right? But the Blu-ray certainly didn't have any special features, and apparently the old DVD didn't have any special features either. So apparently there were no archival special features that they could turn to for this release. Now, why didn't they make some new special features? I don't know. We don't know why that is. Is it because Scream Factory didn't want to? or did Universal prohibit them from creating any new special features? Sometimes there are all these conditions as part of the licensing agreement, and companies are not actually allowed to produce new special features. They're only allowed to use like existing archival, previously released features. So apparently there were none for this. So yeah, that's kind of the downside of this release. You don't get any kind of special features at all. You do get it on both 4K disc and a Blu-ray disc, and even the Blu-ray is going to be an upgrade from that old Blu-ray because it's got the new 4K transfer. But aside from those things, the only thing really to review here is the actual restoration because it is a pretty bare bones release. All right, so let's talk about the restoration here. This restoration was sourced from a 4K scan of the original 35mm camera negative, so it is a native 4K. You do have a few visual effects shots that maybe don't hold up quite as well, but for the most part, everything is, from a native 4K scan here, and it looks really good. This is easily the best this film has ever looked on home media. It is definitely an improvement over the old Blu-ray. The film looks great. It looks great for what it is. Now, I wouldn't call it like a reference disc or anything. It doesn't quite have that wow factor, but it does look really good for the type of film that it is and considering how the film was made. Director Peter Hyams often used a lot of natural lighting in his films. He also directed a couple other Van Damme movies, Sudden Death and Enemies Closer. I think it was just those three, but there might have been another that I'm forgetting. Yeah, I mean, Peter Hyams, a lot of what we see here is just his style, right? His visual aesthetic, his style. For example, it was not uncommon for his films and certain shots to have this kind of hazy look to them, right? And anytime you introduce like a haze or fog or anything like that into a film, it's going to naturally obscure some of the details a little bit. And even a 4K restoration is not going to make those details suddenly appear if it's baked into the source, right? If you've got some sort of haze or fog baked into the source, there's only so much detail that you'll be able to see in shots like that. However, this image definitely does have a noticeable upgrade in detail. You see a lot more detail than we ever did before. It's got a lot more depth to it. The image has a lot more presence to it. Of course, you get those pop to the colors like we expect with the HDR and the wider color gamut. And I think overall, it's fair to say the image just has it feels like it has a new vitality to it that wasn't there on previous home media releases. It's a really nice looking image and one I would definitely recommend if you are a fan of this film. I mean, if you want this film in the best possible quality out there, this is the one that you want to get, right? At least right now, until other 4K releases come out maybe down the line, this is really the only game in town right now if you want this title on 4K. And I think it's worth it just to have the restoration, even though, again, it's a bare bones release. You don't get any special features, but for me, it was worth it to have this film in 4K. It definitely looks the best it ever has. On home media at least, right? So it's one that I would highly recommend if you were a big fan of this film. This is one of my favorite Jean-Claude Van Damme films. It's up there with Hard Target for me. And I'm actually going to be doing a Jean-Claude Van Damme list video in the near future. So be on the lookout for that, and you'll be able to see how I rank all these Jean-Claude Van Damme 4K releases. All right, so if I were to give this one a fuzz score, I think I would probably give it about a 7 out of 10. But that's based purely on the restoration and nothing else, right? Because the restoration, I think, does look good. I think it's a good transfer. Again, it's the best the film has ever looked, so I think it's a solid 7 out of 10. Not quite reference quality, right? Which is why the score isn't higher, but and it's also not higher because there were no other like special features or anything else included. But based purely on the restoration, I'd say a 7 out of 10 sounds about right to me for this film. So yeah, if you're a big fan of Jean-Claude Van Damme and this is a title that you've been wanting to either add to your collection for the first time or upgrade to 4K, either way, this is one I would definitely recommend adding to the collection for Van Damme fans. So yeah, Timecop. By the way, if you're enjoying the content on this channel, do me a favor and please consider subscribing to the channel. And if you do, don't forget to activate those notifications as well so you can be alerted whenever I'm posting videos that you might be interested in. Also, don't forget to like the video as well. It really does help with the channel's visibility and the YouTube algorithm. Thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. All right, so let's move on to Jason X now from Arrow Video. This is their limited edition 4K, and it is just a slipcovered edition. It is not a chunky box. I know a lot of their limited editions are like, you know, rigid chunky boxes. Not in this case. You just get a slipcover this time. But it is a really nice looking slipcover. Let's see if you can see the spot gloss there. You do get a little spot gloss there on the slip and on the you know, on this side and on the title there, so you can kind of see the reflection. So I like that when they add you know, little spot gloss like that. I love those little touches to slipcovers, and I think this is a really nice looking slipcover. Arrow usually does a really good job with their slipcovers. I haven't really been disappointed with their slipcovers. They're maybe not quite as good as Vinegar Syndrome, but the artwork always looks really good. So yeah, I think they gave us a decent slipcover here. Let's take a quick look at what's inside before I start talking about the film itself here. You do have reversible cover art. So you get the original art there, and I'll show you the back there. I don't know if you can even read that. You guys can look that up online if you want to see all the details. But you get just a 4K disc. There's no Blu-ray included. And you do get a poster. It looks like, I'm not going to unfold it, but it's a reversible poster that has both the new artwork and the original artwork, one on each side. And then see, what else is included in this? You do get, this is about it. You just get a little booklet. And it's about a 40-page booklet. Let's see what I can show you here. Yeah, it's really flimsy. You know, there's not a lot to it. But, you know, you get some pictures in there. And there are some essays in there. You know, some small essays in there. So you do get some text in there to read if you want to read up on the film a little bit more. So packaging-wise, there's not a whole lot to this release, but I do think what we do get here looks nice for what it is. All right, so here's the deal with this film for me. This was a blind buy. I had never seen this film until last night, and it's one that I'd been meaning to watch for a few years now, but had just not gotten around to. It sounded like it would be fun, and I'll say up front, I liked it. I had a blast with it, but it's not a good movie. This is a terrible movie. It's really bad. The acting is terrible. The script is not good. There's a lot of CGI in it that doesn't look very good. And it's very dated. Remember, this is 2001 CGI, right? They didn't exactly have the biggest budget for this film as it was, right? It's a horror film. This is not like some big budget $100 million movie, right? I think their budget was like 11 million for this movie. And I'm sorry, but 11 million bucks is not going to buy you really high quality CGI. So the CGI in this film just looks like shit, right? It looks very cheap, and it's very soft looking. It just definitely does not hold up very well on 4K. Anyway, this was a first time watch for me, and you know, for context, I guess it's worth noting, I haven't always been like the biggest Friday the 13th fan. Well, some of you know I was a late bloomer to the horror genre in general, right? I didn't really get into horror until about 4 years ago. And now I, of course, consider myself a full-on horror fan. But there was a time throughout most of my adult life where I just really wasn't that into horror, with the exception of a few titles that were classics that I'd always liked. And when it comes to Friday the 13th, I'll be honest, I've never been as big of a fan of that franchise as I am of other horror franchises, right? I mean, when we think of the big three, you know, like Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, and Friday the 13th, I'm more of a Halloween guy, right? That's my favorite of those big three. That's my favorite horror franchise. I've never been as big of a fan of the Friday the 13th movies, even though I do like some of them and I can have fun with them. I just, you know, I've never liked them as much as other horror franchises. So what I did when I first got into horror about 4 years ago is I just wanted to get like a budget set. An easy, cheap way for me to get all the Friday the 13th movies in my collection, or at least a bunch of them, right? So I ended up, instead of the Scream Factory, that nice Scream Factory box set that they put out, I just got this kind of budget 8-movie collection. you know, because the objective was just to get these movies in my collection for as cheap as possible, knowing that, you know, I'm not nearly as big of a fan of these movies as I am of like the Halloween movies, right? Or the Alien movies. So of course, this 8-movie set does not include Jason X, you know, and I contemplated picking up that Scream Factory set for the last few years. I've had it in my saved cart on Amazon for like 3 years now. And, you know, there were a number of times where I almost pulled the trigger on it. And the reason that I was going to pull the trigger on it was just to have a more complete set so that I could get Jason X in my collection. Because of the films that were not included in this budget set, Jason X was the one that I was most interested in. I wasn't, well, and Freddy versus Jason, but like Jason Goes to Hell, I just wasn't interested in that one. But this one I was interested in because it's got that sci-fi angle, right? And, you know, I'm a big sci-fi fan, so I was intrigued to see how they pulled this off in space. Especially knowing that they were going to have a very limited budget to work with in order to try and pull off this sci-fi horror film. So anyway, when I heard that this was coming out on 4K, I was like, that's perfect. Now I don't really have to buy that Scream Factory box set. I'll just get this, right? I mean, this isn't the only reason I would have bought the Scream Factory box set, but this is one of the main reasons that I would have bought it, just to you know, kind of complete the collection, right, and be more completist, and to have that nice packaging as well, because you know, it's a cool little box set, you know, and it's got tons of special features and stuff. But I just decided that I didn't really need that box set. That I was happy with just this. Right? I didn't, and I still don't think I need any more than this. I mean, I do, well, to be fair, if part 3 and 4 come out on 4K, I will probably upgrade those to 4K because I do like those two, and I like the original as well. You know, I may get that on 4K at some point, but most of these I wouldn't be even interested in upgrading to 4K. You know, Jason Takes Manhattan, yeah, I don't need that on 4K. So yeah, I think I'm happy with this for the other Friday the 13th movies, you know, except the ones that I mentioned. But when I heard this was coming out from Arrow Video, I was like, yeah, that's going to work out perfectly, because then I can just get this as a standalone and I don't even have to mess with that Scream Factory collection. All right, so let's talk about the transfer, the restoration, which really isn't, I mean, there's nothing wrong with the transfer. There's just something wrong with the film, right? The film itself kind of looks like shit. So there's only so much you can really polish a turd like this. However, the film was shot in 35 millimeter, and they did source this from a 4K scan of the original camera negative. The only problem is there's a ton of early CGI that just looks like crap on here. It's very soft looking and lacking detail, and you know, it's very primitive. It was older CGI from what, 2000, 2001 that was rendered at a much lower resolution, and the 4K doesn't help that. There's only so much you can do to make those look, you know, watchable. And so yeah, and plus the fact that, you know, this was made on a really low budget, right? I mean, this was made for like $11 million. This wasn't like $100 million, you know, big budget movie at the time. So they didn't have the money to really, you know, pay for quality visual effects and quality CGI, which, you know, CGI is expensive. You know, so yeah, they just didn't have the budget to really have high quality CGI. So it's cheap looking CGI. You know, the acting is really bad. The script's not very good. There are some practical effects in here that do look good in 4K and are probably the best they could ever look. But, you know, so there's some stuff, and there's actual real sets as well. But the sets, they look cheap. They look pretty cheesy. It's just not a really high quality looking film. Right, in terms of at the source, in terms of the kind of film they made, there was only so much Arrow could do to make this one look, you know, decent and watchable, right? But I'm sure it's a slight improvement over previous Blu-rays, but I'm guessing that you'd only really get this if you're a big fan of the franchise. Like if you already have the Scream Factory box set with Jason X in it, I'm not sure that you really even need this, to be honest, unless you just want that little bit of uptick in detail for the live action and the practical stuff that was shot. But aside from that, yeah, this isn't one of the better looking 4Ks I've ever seen. And again, it's not Arrow's fault. It's entirely the film. The film itself is just not a very good looking film. It kind of looks like shit. But if you are a fan of this film, I'm sure this is the best that it has looked on home media, maybe with the CGI aside. You may actually prefer the way the CGI looks on the Blu-ray compared to the 4K, right? Because the 4K certainly reveals a lot of flaws in the CGI. So yeah, you may actually prefer the Blu-ray for that from that perspective. However, you do get a small uptick in detail and some improvement on the practical and live set work and all that. So this was a blind buy for me. I did enjoy it. I did have fun with it. It's one of those movies that's almost like so bad, it's amusing, right? It's fun to watch just because of how bad it is. But the kills are awesome in this. I love the kills in this movie. That's the best part about the movie. And so it was worth it just for that alone. I also love the android battle, the female android that fights Jason. That was pretty amusing. That was pretty hilarious, actually. So I had a lot of fun with the movie, despite the fact that it's a shit movie. As for special features, there are quite a few special features on this. Let's take a look here at the back. I don't know if you can see any of that. You can also look it up online. A lot of archival special features, including the Scream Factory documentary, the making of Jason X. That's actually included here. So they ported over that. And I think there's some other stuff that appeared on the Scream Factory release that's here too. Tons of interviews, some retrospective stuff on like Jason, another like half-hour long featurette, and I think the making of is only like a half an hour long, but there's like a retrospective on Jason like evolving, you know, over the years, and that's like a half hour long as well. So there's some fun stuff in there. Lots of interviews with Sean Cunningham and some of the actors and other people who worked on this. So yeah, as far as special features go, if I was going to not own the Scream Factory box set, then I'm happy that they actually included all this stuff on this release, because I still get the special features, even though I don't have the Scream Factory box set. So I very much appreciate that. All right, so if I had to give this a fuzz score, I would probably give it about a 6 out of 10, maybe even a little lower, depending on what component of this release we're talking about. Honestly, the reason it gets as high marks as it does, the reason I gave it a 6 is because of the special features and the fact that they included, you know, some decent special features with this. But, you know, the transfer itself, I'm sure it looks as good as the film can look, but it's just not an impressive 4K by any stretch of the imagination. And again, it's not any fault of Arrow's, it's just the way this film looks at the source. There's only so much you could do to polish this turd, right? So yeah, I give it about a 6 out of 10. I think that sounds about right for this. All right, so would I recommend this to other 4K collectors? Probably only if you're a really big fan of the film. If you already have the Scream Factory release, well, let me put it this way. If I already had the Scream Factory release, I probably wouldn't have even picked this up. You know, I would have been happy just with that. But if you're a huge fan of the film, a huge fan of this franchise, then you may actually want to pick this one up in 4K as well, and, you know, get the little bit of upgrade that you do get on 4K. Yeah, it might be worth it for you to pick it up if you're a big fan of the film and the franchise. So yeah, Jason X from 2001. Okay, so that about wraps it up for my my thoughts on Timecop and Jason X on 4K. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Have you picked up these yourself yet? And have you watched them? And if so, what did you think? Do you agree with my assessment on this, or do you totally disagree? Either way, I always love chatting with you guys and interacting with you guys in the comments, so make sure you leave me some feedback down below. Also, don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Thank you so much for watching today, guys. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you soon.